Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today, I want to talk about something really kind of important. It's kind of a check-in on where we're at in the ascension, what's going on in this phase. Um, and I channeled a message from Spirit about that because with the work that I've done, I know we're in the end, but what does that mean? So I talked recently about going to the Lake of Justice of silver and gold. And that was on day 6 or 7, I believe, of 6, I believe, I can't remember, of my soul cleanse. And on day 7, I think it was, they established that everybody will be at the river of judgment or justice. Okay. So these are what some might call biblical times. They are God times, right? Because the reason I don't like the term biblical times is because the Bible has been manipulated and changed to suit an agenda, to create division and fear. And that is not the truth. And my OCD is establishing right now. What? It's crooked. Okay. So that, my friends, is not the truth. Okay. We are not meant to be a division, but in the end, the division is very loud as far as light and shadow. Because in the work that I have been doing, we cannot take the light anymore into the shadow. And I've been paying more attention to the Schumann resonance. It's been on my Facebook page mostly, but because it does align with the work, it does align with where we're at in the ascension and earth. It is showing you very loudly that new earth is here. New earth is here and it's here to stay. And I'm getting chills as I'm saying that. And what that means is we can no longer bring the shadow forward in anything that we do. And everything that you do is creating your reality either way. Okay? Everything you do is creating your reality either way, whether you still have shadow in you and karmic patterning playing out, to whether we are free and rising, to whether we are a creator or we are trying to learn those lessons very loudly, right? Um, we do have two worlds playing out. One is a karmic rapture, and the other is being set free. Okay. I'm going to read the channeled message that I got about where we are. We are in times, but Spirit never called it the end of days. In the work that I've done, it's been established many times that it is, in fact, the end of ways. Okay. What I'm about to read is a little bit poetic and flow. It's spiritual. It comes straight from Spirit, the highest divine spaces. And they give it in the way they are intentionally giving it, but it is vast in the message. Okay. All of the work that I do is very vast and it takes time to absorb. It takes time to process because the most important thing I'm about to tell you is that we can't see in our limited mind into the totality of the ascension. Our limited minds and our two eyes are not able to see past the shadow that we house. We are not able to fully connect with our heart where there is karma and shadow present. So it's important to understand that full understanding, full visuality is not going to occur until you heal and align into it. Once you heal what blinds and binds, then you can see clearly. Okay. Um, that's why some of us see more than others. Okay. That's why some of us judge more than others. That's why some of us fear more than others. Because fear is established connection to the shadow. Judgment is not of God. And I don't care what the dictionary says, it is not of God. And where you allow judgment to dictate your choices, you become that judgment. Okay. Where you allow fear to dictate your choices, you become that fear. This is the new earth. This is our freedom, our sovereign beings of light. I am that I am. On day 8 of my soul cleanse that I recently finished, and I've still been processing, my heart review was given to me basically. And I was honored because in it, Spirit said that I left no stone unturned. There was not one area of the earth that did not get healed from the shadow and changed back to the light. Not one. And I get a lot of chills when I say that because I did it blindly. I didn't see all things either. It was my own awakening journey. I just knew it was urgent to follow those nudges. I knew it was urgent to follow Spirit the whole way. Even if I was judged, even if I didn't understand what was happening, even if I couldn't see why I was being nudged to do it, or the totality, what it even meant to activate pyramids, to clear Mount Shasta, which was not of light at all, to free Jesus's soul. But what did that mean, right? And then it just kept going. I knew what I needed to do was not accept the shadow and keep choosing love. And I did it. And I recently busted out a lot of things really fast, especially right before Trump took office on this channel. I undid the Sistine Chapel very quickly because that wasn't technically supposed to be my undoing because I didn't, it was people were supposed to rise with me and clear out their own karmic patterning in the ascension, okay, in the return. But unfortunately, they didn't. And some things I had to do on my own, and I wasn't meant to, but I did it. So in the very end, I popped out some things like very quickly. I undid the medical matrix, which is on Patreon because YouTube banned it. Most people that triggered their big shadow. They didn't like that one, but I loved it. And you do have to heal in it, and that's what it is. It's a healing for you to release the medical matrix. The virus matrix, all of that needs to be healed out of you. I undid the Sistine Chapel. We cleared all religion. The money matrix created the portal of the angels because the new earth is about establishing that unity of all light, all life. Okay. And so recently I pushed out a lot of things very quickly because they needed to be completed. But in the end, I left no stone unturned. Now, this is important because it actually comes out in our ascension check-in for the earth, okay? But it's true. And I was honored. Like, I got so teary that day, and I was just so grateful. And I have so many chills talking about it, is that somehow, through all things, through losing a twin soul, getting a walk-in, um, shadow battling that for me against us, right? Against love, all the battle against love, all the physical things that I went through in the return and doing all the work that I did because there was a lot against me, including people just not bringing love into the return. All of it hurt. And through all of that, I did it. I left no stone unturned. Not one thing was left incomplete. So all shadow, and I do mean all shadow from the earth is removed. And that is speaking volume for what you would call the rapture. God doesn't call it that. He doesn't call it the apocalypse. They call it the return of the gods because that's what it's about. Okay? So consider the totality of how much darkness was here and how much darkness has to purge. Okay? The thing about that is you have to be aligning to that and healing all the shadow out of you. You cannot remain duality. This is very real, very complex, but very important to understand this because if you're paying attention to the Schumann resonance as well, like New Earth blueprint is here. I had to use the trees to bring through the Christ light. Photosynthesis is applied because the 144,000 were not ready. And that speaks volumes to where the collective is in the ascension as opposed to where the earth is in the ascension. Because everything I did it to the earth and those who did the work with me. Um, but a lot of people chose to judge it rather than utilize what God gave us. Okay. they expect to be able to see everything before they do, and that is an illusion of grandeur because you cannot see until you clear that shadow. Then you can see. Okay, so remember that. We cannot see from the mind to the work that I've done and the return and the totality of the ascension. We see when the heart is open and clear to see. Okay, because it's in here. All things are in here. Home is where the heart is. The heart is where you will find God. The heart is where you will find all the work that's been done because it's in the Akasha records. So God said, word to the wise, 4343, by the way, just came up. If you cannot see all things, there's work to do. And seeing is not everything. So some people will see to a certain degree, but they still won't make it through. Okay, so you have to heal. You have to heal. You have to receive the DNA. Even some of the animals weren't viable anymore because of all the GMO stuff. Okay, so we have to become pure light, pure sovereign, light-bodied again through healing. It takes healing. Okay, we must establish the new earth connection within us because it happens through you. The new earth will happen through you, not to you. Okay. So this is what I got when I said, what's happening? Where are we at right now on the ascension? What is happening on the ascension? Okay. And this is what I got. We are in the final phase. Okay. But ego is going to try to tell you what that is. And you don't want to do that because it's vast and you don't know exactly what that means. Now, if you watched all my work, which most people pick and choose, unfortunately, so it's really important to watch every little piece and every detail, no matter what, because number one, it'll be an awakening. Number two, it's going to show you where your shadow is. Number three, it is the true return work. Activating pyramids, clearing Mount Shasta, freeing Jesus' soul, and doing the Holy Grail. Those are really real things that I did. And they're on this channel for you to see. Like, I'm not talking about them. Those are the work. So these are important. It's important to observe. It's important to absorb and observe and undo what is not love. Okay? So when I say final phase, it's not to spark fear because the truth is it's always been right here. 4554, I'm getting a lot of synchronicities with this. A lot of spiritual validations is what they're calling them. And further insight for those who are sparked by the numbers that I'm saying and look them up. So if fear sparks within you when I speak, that's showing you where your shadow is. Fear is not of God. There's nothing to fear because it's up to you. It's free will applied. Okay? So you have a choice to be governed by the matrix or to free your heart and soul. But you have to do the work to do it. And God will always guide the way. Co-creation is absolutely important. Okay? So here's what they say. So I want you to hear this. I might read it twice because it's somewhat poetic, but spirit will flow through me that way sometimes. But it's also very vast, so we need to absorb it. We need to put it in our pot. We need to allow it to digest and to process. But where I'm nudged to go deeper, I will in the message. Okay? So we are in the final phase. This is it. This is what I told you. But if you watch my work, I have to say, they want me to say this because I was activating the pyramids. The pyramids are the ascension portals. Okay, I implemented them to the earth when God said it's time. And I showed you guys all of that on this chat. I showed the work. I upload the work for all to see. And this is why the entire path is not just given away, because when people bring judgments to this work, it hurts you. So you don't want to do that. You want to just observe it. You want to absorb it. You want to just watch it and allow things to unfold for truths within you. That's what you do, okay? Just watch and allow it to unfold. You can do research. You can search things up. You can learn about things. Just don't throw judgment at them. Don't make assumptions. Just watch, observe, do research, ask spirit to show you, okay? Those kinds of things. Because when I was activating the pyramids, one of the final ones that I cleared, one of the final portals that came up that I cleared was the Nile. And I did this a while ago. I think it was June of 23, we did the Nile, and the life of Sekhmet processed through, and I cleared the crystal in the core of the earth from darkness back to light. I returned that fragment of the soul back, and that is the final portal, and it's the wrath portal. Uh, Listen to that. It's the wrath portal because it's going to explain to you where we're at in the ascension in the earth and what's happening and what's kind of coming forward a little bit more. Okay. The final portal deals with wrath. When we're in the very end, things are going to get heightened. And I heard civil unrest a few times in this message because it's like a pressure cooker, and that's in here as well. So I'll get into that. But the final portal is the Nile portal, and it deals with wrath. And some of us will be heightened in the battle, and other of us will be separate from that. It depends on your heart review. It depends on where the shadow is within you, what governs you. Is it fear? Is it the matrix? Are you controlled by money and greed and the matrix and fear and that blueprint of the Antichrist is what God calls it? Or because that's what happened to Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Sekhmet and Horus, is they separated them. They took their power. They stole the earth through the Holy Grail, but it wasn't holy. Um, they stole Jesus's blood and they wrote a contract. And you can watch that in the Return of Christ, the resurrection on Christmas Day of 22 on this channel. Like it really all played out. You guys, these are very real. That's what I'm telling you. It's like so real, it's hard to wrap our mind around it. It's so real that it's hard to fathom that this truly is the end of ways. This truly is the end of the life that we knew. And the thing about that is the whole world is not ending. Only those that choose not to rise through and let go of all of that blueprint, okay, of the old, of the Antichrist, of the Matrix. So the final portal is the Nile portal. After that, I birthed New Earth. Seriously, it was 8 days of birthing New Earth, but on the seventh and eighth day, I didn't do a lot. It was the 12 trumpets and 3 main events will cause people to look up. And then day 8 was heart reviews applied. Day 1 was establishing the final alignment to my DM and I, and then the barrier of New Earth was applied. So if you don't make it past the Nile portal, you don't get into New Earth. Okay, these are like gates. That's why they call it a gatekeeper. And every time I would activate the pyramids, I would pull the card, the gatekeeper. And then I would act and I was like, oh, like I get it now. And so if you can't make it through the final portal, which is the wrath, which is what this is pointing to that we're in, okay? We are in the wrath portal. Now, how long that lasts is not up to me. That is not up to you necessarily. It's in the work that I've already done and established, and it's the way the flow of energy is, because time is not what you think it is. It's more like a flow of an energy wave, and it's very vast, okay? So it could last this year. It could end sooner than that. I don't know. But what I will tell you is we are in the final phase. Now listen to this, and I'll explain this further. We are in the final phase. For those still with me, this is important to know. Fires speak very loudly of this. Reckoning happens in waves, and it's happening now. So a day of reckoning. I did that painting recently where everybody was turned back to Christ consciousness, but only those who don't choose duality any longer, right? Only those who choose that love. And because of the duality undoing, we cannot carry shadow and still expect to see into the light. So I don't care if they're a healer. I don't care if they think they are. If you don't heal the shadow out of you, collective and individual shadow, there's 2 shadows. I will talk about that in the end of this. I did a short video on that recently, but in the end of this video, if you want to know about the shadow, I will talk further about it. You have to release the layers of the shadow, okay? So we are in the final phase. Fires speak very loudly of this. So I talked about the 2025 predictions. I did a video about that on this channel, and I said we were going to have massive fires. And then I also talked about it again and said we're going to have more, just not as bad as the first set, right? But Spirit didn't want to tell you where because it's not about fear and you can't stop them. It's just about realizing that everything you need to actually see is right in front of you. And it's only for those who choose to see because it's free will, right? So some will turn away from God in the end. Some will turn away from the truth in the end. So a day of reckoning happens in waves, and it's happening right now. Like we are in it, and the fires speak very loudly of this. This was like, boom, it was California, then North Carolina and South Carolina, and then New York. So the whole message is important. Let's listen. So it's a pressure cooker, right? There is a lid and it's about to blow, and that's what it feels like in the energy. Now, we're going into the wrath portal. That was the Nile. And they put my feet in the Nile River, and then all of a sudden I started like processing everything out, and the river turned to blood, and then it dried out. And I asked God what that meant, and he said it was everything we were purging. But it wasn't fully understood that it was the final portal until I birthed to New Earth, and then it all made sense. And then they established that totality. The Nile is the final portal. It's the final one. And if you don't make it past that, you don't make it into New Earth. And each portal presents a lesson and a testament of love or not. Okay. I talked about that when I spoke of Revelations. And after I undid the Holy Grail, I got a download of why not everybody would make it. And that's also on this channel in the Return of Christ playlist. So these are important to know. It's been there the whole time. And it breaks my heart that people would rather judge me and just think I'm crazy than watch the work in my life story. Because if you actually watch it, you can tell it's very real. And either I'm an extreme genius or I'm a new definition of crazy, okay? Because I couldn't make it up if I tried. And it was really important, and it should have had love, lots of love. So the final phase is now. The fires speak very loudly of this. A reckoning happens in waves, and it is happening now. Pressure cooker, the lid is about to blow. Must establish connection to New Earth blueprint. You must establish the connection to the New Earth blueprint through you. Okay? You have to establish that connection. So the Schumann resonance is showing you it's here now. I've been trying to show you it aligns to the New Earth work. Like it's here and we are rising into it, and it has to happen through you. So you have to establish that connection to New Earth through your actions, your choices, healing and releasing all of the shadow and the matrix blueprint. I'm going to talk about the shadow in the end of this. There's two parts to the shadow. This is very important for you to know because it's what I was undoing. And I left no stone unturned. And I mean none. You have to heal all of the matrix out of you to rise. But I'll talk about that in the end. That's what it means by you must establish the connection to the new earth, because you can't remain in a matrix blueprint and rise to a new earth that's coming in now. We cannot do that. You have to heal it all out of you. And if you think I'm crazy, that's fine. You won't rise because it's not about that. We're all connected. So if you think I'm crazy, what in you is crazy? Okay? It's a reflection of you. So we just have to kind of buckle down and be like, you know what? This shit is crazy. Maybe I need to open up to things I'm not used to, and maybe I just need to try to heal it and see what happens. And then you might see a little more clearly. Okay? So we have to establish that connection to New Earth Blueprint. So if something is presenting in you as a choice, you have to choose love and New Earth. If you choose fear, money over everything, the matrix, I don't care how scary it looks, that's the shadow. It's up to which choice you make to determine which path you go on. Okay, so in order to be on the new earth, you have to be establishing the new earth path through your choices. And that's why the path to righteousness was priceless. It was all the healing you needed. It was everything I did, and it was through the actual work of the return. So that is one way to honor Christ. Okay, it was priceless because you got to do it now. Okay. You have to do it now. That's what it means. You must establish a connection to the new earth blueprint. Your head guides the path, but not, okay. Sorry, I read that wrong. I backtrack because I channeled this through, so my handwriting it changes weird and okay. So we must establish connection to new earth blueprint. The heart guides the path, not fear, time, or the mind. Okay. The new earth blueprint is the choices of the heart. The choices of the heart, not the mind, not fear, not the matrix, not time. It has to be the heart path, the guidance from your internal heart space, your passion, setting yourself free from the matrix the whole way. So it's like, if I do this, how am I going to have money? Then you're not co-creating, you're not manifesting, you're not being sovereign, being of light, you're not coming from the heart space and connecting to spirit and creating that way. This is what I'm talking about. You have to establish the new earth blueprint through you, through the choices that have been rising. And if you choose judgment, if you choose to stop healing, some did that a long time ago. Which side of that portal are you on? And can you make it through? Because consider it takes pure light to make it through those portals. It takes that path of new earth. Okay, because that's the only way to make it into new earth. This is not a maybe, this is revelations. And I did all the work. It's right here for everybody to see. They just put down their shadow and honor what might actually be. And then once you watch it all and you put aside judgments and ego and fear and things that we thought we knew, and you allow everything to absorb and process, then you see what really is right in front of you or not. Okay. So you must establish connection to New Earth Blueprint. The heart guides the way, not fear, time, or the mind. Some are becoming more and more blind. Okay. So you will have some not hear you anymore, more and more as you rise. I have witnessed this. It happens. That live and let live. I don't like live and let die, but you know what I mean? So Trump is okay. So then I was like, all right, what's going on with Trump and the White House and what's happening, right? Because there's all this talk about them sending money our way. There's all this talk and fear being pushed. There's all these things happening. And so I asked specifically what's going on with the presidency with Trump. So they said Trump is doing more than anyone knows and making many uncomfortable. Okay. Trump is doing more than anyone knows. They aren't showing us everything, is what they said. They're hiding a lot of things from you. They only put out what they choose to put out. And so also there's something about with him exposing truths, like what happened in the past to, I think it was even Abraham Lincoln, to the Kennedys, and they're still trying to hide some things, is what they're saying. They're fighting hard to hide it. So listen to this because it's about to get really. Trump is doing more than anyone knows and making many uncomfortable. A power play to the bitter end. The end is now of old ways. Okay. A power play to the bitter end. They're not going to go down lightly. Screams of war. So you're going to have screams of war. Now, this is layered. This is not just in the White House. It's everything everywhere because it's a power play. So the ones that had the power that I left no stone unturned for, that I undid from the Pentagon and the pentagram blueprint matrix system, money matrix system, the food matrix system, the medical matrix system, I undid them all. I undid them all. Religion, Sistine Chapel, they've all been undone. It's a false blueprint system. Division, judgment is not of God. Okay. What happened in truth and they never told you, that is not of God. God is not bloodshed and war. So hear me. And so there is a major power play at hand and it's everywhere. It's not just in the White House. And I got chills when I said that. So some are becoming more and more blind. Trump is doing more than anyone knows and making many uncomfortable. Many. Okay. And it keeps going. I have a whole nother page and a half. A power play to the bitter end. The end is now of old ways. Okay. We can no longer be the new earth blueprint has to be established through your actions right now, and it is here now. So we don't know exactly when the portal's going to hit. You can't just be like, well, I don't want to change. The only way that you can't not change, because the end is ending, right? The old is ending. So you cannot remain the same, and the only comfort zone you're going to find is in balance from the heart center, self-love, love, joy. Okay, freedom, sovereign. So, screams of war, constitutional unrest. Screams of war and constitutional unrest. Fear-inducing at its best. I'm going to keep spewing fear, division, confusion, lies, because consider like if, and I don't like to use the analogy of somebody's being abused or like fighting for their life, but that's what the shadow's doing as we are establishing undoing that. Does that make sense? And so it's like this horrible tug of war. It's like a tug of war, a power play. That's what tug of war is, right? It's like who's more powerful? Who's stronger? Who's more powerful? Whose ego's bigger? Kind of a thing. But neither, because ego has to fall of all. Okay. So the structure is falling more than they will allow to show. The structure is falling more than they are allowing you to know. Okay. Hiding truths the entire way. They're still hiding truths. Money is changing, a currency shift. Karma applies in every way. So we cannot remain in the money system we knew. We have to make way that I can't see everything, so I'm going to listen to my heart center. I'm going to follow the path of the heart, not the mind. I know that things are ending, and I know I must establish a new blueprint of freedom, sovereignty. The money has been returned back to the divine. Okay. The river of justice and gold and silver. And I remember when I first started doing the work, before I really dove into activating all the pyramids, I threw money in the portal of time. So the Sphinx was activated, and it was what they called the portal of time. And underneath was like a really big black hole. And when I did the Nile portal, after that, Sekhmet and Horus come back together. So Horus returned, and when I fully healed the moon, Horus returned and he rose from the Sphinx and he was very big. So we used to be very big, right? We weren't little like we are now because the energy was different. But so everything I did was very important. Very important to understanding what's happening now. But screams of war, constitutional unrest, fear-inducing at its best. The structure is falling more than they will allow to show, hiding truths the entire way. Money is changing, a currency shift. Karma applies in every way. And mind you, I told you Trump would win, and he did. I told you the fires were coming, and they were. Everything I've told you has come through, even if not when you thought it would. And about a year or two ago, before a major battle on my new I spoke of a shock factor of 9 rising, and that happened. California, I believe, was that. There's been a lot of things, um, just a lot of things in that. And so I say stuff and people make assumptions that it needs to happen this time or that means it's happening this way. We don't want to do that because our time is not the same. And God makes adjustments accordingly. Okay, the universe will adjust accordingly to everything that is, the I am that I am, so that everything is established in the correct way. Okay, so when it aligns, divine timing. So we have to understand that everything I have said has come through, but in divine timing, not yours. So that's when I said, when they say that we're in the end, this is the final phase, you don't know if it's tomorrow that everything stops. You don't know. That's not what's important. What's important is that you do everything now, because all we have is here in the now, not thinking about tomorrow and not worrying about yesterday. Those are false timelines. Okay, so then they said, after they said money is changing, currency shift, karma applied in every way. Listen carefully. The justice system will not take hold because if you notice, they're the ones going against Trump right now, is the court system, the justice system, but it's not justice. So, like the justice, the judicial system will not take hold. Listen here. Are they or are they not in control? I'm going to read that part again. The justice system, I'm talking about the judicial system, the court system, that is actually undoing everything Trump did. So Trump is our president. And so consider that, right? He's supposed to be the one guiding the way, and he implements something. And then right out from under him, the Democratic group, the other half of the wall, and what they call the justice system or the judiciary system is like cutting it out from, they're trying to cut it out from under him. This is the war that I'm talking about, okay? So the justice system will not take hold, but that war is more vast than you know. Are they or are they not in control? The limitations, the mind takes hold. Okay, so the limitations of the mind takes hold. So some people are anchoring into that. The heart is free and flies. The heart is free and flies. Flows, flies. I don't know. My handwriting changes a few times in this. Sorry. The limitations, the mind takes hold. So let's read that again. The limitations, the mind takes hold. So the mind is where the limitations are. And the heart is free and flows and flies. It rises. So where we find limitations, you're not in your heart space, you're in your mind. Where you find limitations, you're not fully in your heart space. There is healing needed to be done, okay? You're in your mind and there's still karma cycles playing out. You have to heal and rise out of those, not cut them and burn them. I've talked about this many times over. You need all those karmic contracts and ties because there was somebody else on the other end of it. There's other ties to that. We're all connected. So we need those established. We need those connections. We need those karmic ties and contracts because the choices we're making is what's healing those. And so if you've cut and burned ties to them, you can't heal them. They aren't rising through you. Okay. So the limitations is where the mind will take hold. So you're not in your heart space if you are being governed by the shadow in any way. Okay. You are not, there's work to do. The heart is free and flies. That's where you're going to rise through, period. You have to be 100% soul path aligned, which is the heart path. Okay. I've talked about that. And I even gave a free video to find out if you were, but I'll leave that there. Civil unrest. Okay. Civil unrest. Civil unrest. So that war I was talking about expands outside of the White House, outside of the country leaders. And again, you know, everybody thinks it's just the United States that's going to fall. No. Civil unrest. So now the war is spreading to the collective. It's like that tug of war on the rope. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who's like trying to reestablish their power? So there is civil unrest because that dividing line is real and it's shadow and light. You cannot take one into the other anymore. And so the energies are separating that. And if you take hold into the shadow side and the matrix side, you can't come to the light. And if you watch my blueprint, new earth birthing videos that I did this last year, they're on the channel. They're in my playlist. I talked about all of the light being called home. Anybody, I don't care who you are, if you still have shadow and karma, you can't rise. And if you don't believe that, that's okay. I may not see you on the other side because it's not about your belief. You cannot see past the shadow. It's about just getting fully into that heart space either way, because then you'll rise either way, right? Okay. So civil unrest, riots unfold. So something about the riots getting bigger and leave some out in the cold. So when I wrote this, I get the image of like a war-torn area where everything kind of blew up and there's like rubble and like ash everywhere and like people trying to get up on their footing and they made it, they like survived, but there's like nothing left. That was the image I got, almost like in a movie, you know? So civil unrest, riots unfold and leave some out in the cold. For when battle is needed, love can't take hold. So for those who are focusing on that power control, love is not taking hold. Okay. Justice will unfold either way. True justice, because your judgment day is you reap what you sow day. Waves of true justice. So justice will unfold either way. Civil unrest, riots unfold, and leave some out in the cold. For when battle is needed, love can't take hold. Justice will unfold either way. Money returns from far and wide. So I asked about that. I'm like, okay, everybody keeps talking about Trump sending us money. What does this mean? This was the answer I got. Money returns from far and wide from which it was taken. Money returns from far and wide for which it was taken. Now listen closely. For some, it burns in their hands, and others finally feel safe. Money returns from far and wide from which it was taken. For some, it burns in their hands, and others finally feel safe. Money returns from far and wide from which it was taken. So if greed and fear of with money is, if the matrix blueprint has you still thinking money is more important than everything, be very careful. Because for some it burns in their hands, karma applied, and others finally feel safe. It's not about what the eyes are able to see. It's all about what the heart knows and opens up to in every way. Your reality is created through you either way. New Earth is here now and is here to stay. So you can't stop it. The only thing that can happen is the shadow stops you from rising to it. Allow everything else to fade away. Okay? So don't focus on the civil unrest and the battle and the war because the wrath path is the final portal. So we have entered into that. Wrath is going to unfold. The civil unrest, the wars, the battle, the tug of war on that rope, right? Trying to reestablish their power connection. It's like if somebody's backed into the corner and they're trying to survive in every way and they're gonna like, rah, you know what I mean? You don't want to be on that part of it. We don't want to be on that part of it. Okay. Civil unrest will grow. The dividing light has been established, and that's what I'm talking about. Think about tug of war. You have that line, and you have a group on one end and a group on the other, and each group is like pulling and pulling and pulling that dividing line. Okay? One side is light, and the other is the shadow and wrath. Okay, so civil unrest will grow. The dividing line has been established. I can't read that word. I think it says war in the establishment. Okay. Fighting amongst each other. Yeah. So war in the establishment, civil unrest will grow, dividing line has been established. Fighting amongst each other until implosions take everything away. I have a little bit more to go, okay? Fighting amongst each other until implosions take everything away. Fires, then water, and winds will blow. Fires, then water, and winds will blow. And if you watch my actual work, you guys, what I did is very real, and it took my light to do it, my Kundalini light. And also people devalue a Kundalini and what it truly is. It's very real. The real ones are real. You know what I mean? It was my light, and I used my light, and my heart became enlarged to do it. And as I was doing that, I was changing the weather. I was changing the North and South Pole. We were changing the equator line because the masculine pyramids were on the equator line. So this is very large. The Earth has now been established in a divide. And one side is shadow and the other is light because the shadow cannot come into the light anymore. And I had spoke many times about fires, then water. Some of the pyramids were underwater and earthquakes will occur. And some of those earthquakes and volcanoes are underwater. This is very important to understand because you won't be able to see everything. Okay. It's like the Great Flood. Some didn't see it coming. Okay. But God didn't cause that either. So some of what's happening is not necessarily punishment from God, it's correcting what was done. It's not punishment, it's correction. Okay? So fires, the elements have been returned to the new earth blueprint and they have their own karmic kickback. Everything I did, I said that. Money has its own karmic kickback. The elements have their own karmic kickback. The earth has to correct herself. And all that while that's happening, there's this civil war going on. And I even mentioned that there will probably be more of a civil war. So the war is not just amongst one country to the other, it's one side to the other of reality and life and mankind. Okay. So fires, then water, and winds will blow. These are real. This is not just a metaphorical. This is actual fires, then water, something with water, and the winds will blow. No stone left unturned. New earth is here. Adam and Eve have returned. It's not just a man named Jesus. You would know that if you watched all my work. Sekhmet is fury and wrath. Then light is all that's left. The final portal is wrath. And then after that is new earth. And the civil unrest, they will battle amongst each other until it implodes. Okay? So the shadow, when I was undoing it, I had talked about, and it's in my courses. I did courses to help you undo the collective and individual shadow. There's two parts to the shadow. One is the collective shadow. That is the established blueprint of the matrix. It is not of God. So God calls that blueprint the Antichrist timeline, the Antichrist blueprint. The new earth is the return of the gods. That's the blueprint of God, the system of God. It's not a matrix system. It's not a false system. Okay. So that's the collective shadow, and it consists of the money matrix, the food matrix, um, chemical warfares and stuff they're saying. Um, uh, the food matrix, right? It's all the matrix systems that I undid, religious matrix system. There's multiple feelers of a system spread out, and it's designed to keep you in fear, divided, constantly focus on money for survival. We're not meant to suffer. We're not meant to pay for water and electricity. The pyramids actually supply all of our energetic flow. The earth supplies everything for all. And it's always meant to be that way. Abundance is real, and she gives abundance in every way. And so there should have been no control and divide of that, no fear created for that. It's for survival. We should not be in survival mode. That's all part of the matrix system. False timelines. I also said this year something about trains and time. I saw all the derailments of the train tracks because wasn't time created for train systems? Right? The false concept of time, where the Incas and Mayans went by the sun and the moon and the stars. So there's a difference, okay? The earth either provides or the matrix system provides. You choose, and it determines where you go. And if you feel like you're going to be homeless, then you will. Okay? But you have to be open to whatever's going to happen. But you also need to be establishing your connection with your guides and spirit and your heart space and following those nudges no matter what, not the head, but the heart, right? Your gut tells you everything. Um, so you have the collective shadow. The collective shadow is the mind, right? Your mind, your thoughts are not always yours. Sometimes it's the collective, sometimes it's a shadow component, okay? And so getting power back from all of the matrix system undoes the collective matrix. And as you're doing that, you have your individual shadow. Individual shadow is all the pain you have felt your whole life. It's that creates a shadow. Anywhere you wear masks and escape reality is a shadow. Addictions are a shadow. Food is part of the shadow system. So whatever governs your choices, whatever is wounded within you is your individual shadow. If judgments, if you're constantly judging people, thinking you know more than them, thinking that they don't matter just as equally as you, thinking that you have something to teach them. I mean, other than these kinds of things, right? God will tell, hey, teach what you know. That's different. But when you're throwing judgments at people, it's like, dude, I know more than you and you need to fix what you're doing. There's a difference, right? So ego is the shadow component of an individual flow, but also collective. So if you're kind of noticing the collective shadow creates an individual shadow through where you give it your power. Okay. And this is every lifetime because all lifetimes have been combined into now because it's the Great Reset. So we can no longer be a karmic blueprint Earth. We can no longer be shadow and light. Duality is done. So you want to heal the collective shadow within you. Where does the matrix system govern your choices and control you? And then you want to take it deeper and heal all of your individual shadow, which is your karmic blueprint. And you have to do all of that to rise. There was no stone left unturned. So, New Earth is true. Adam and Eve have returned. Okay. So has Sekhmet and Horus, and so has Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And when I was recently, I was doing something, I don't know if it was my soul cleanse or what. Spirit said we are in the Adam and Eve timeline. So that is the wrath portal. That is the final portal of the Nile. And also in my 2025 predictions, they want me to mention, I said, what did I say? Egypt, the Exodus of Egypt, I think is what I said. It's in there. Okay. So it's, ooh, I got chills. This is all making full sense now. We are in the end, my friends. We are in the end. Okay. So it's all there. If you have any questions, I'm open to them. Just don't be closed off and try to ask without judgment, but for learning and growth. Okay. But I really would love to hear them. And I can absolutely point you where to find those answers, um, the healing path, all of that. Okay. The path to righteousness was priceless. Oh my. And I see that more and more every day. And people made me feel less than with it. And that was sad because it was everything. It was so important because it's true. So the Adam and Eve timeline, the final portal before you get to New Earth is the Wrath portal, which is the Nile portal where Sekhmet returned, and then it was Adam and Eve timeline. So the return that I did played out in this order. First, it was establishing my original connection with my DM, which I didn't know I had, freeing his soul from his processing his death, clearing Mount Shasta, returning the root chakra back to Fiji, cutting off life support to California, freeing all the souls that were trapped in Mount Shasta, then activating all the pyramids, Fiji, Indonesia, Mayan. Those were the feminine ones first. Freeing my soul on the masculine side. That battle that I spent for a year, his soul was set free. Then I got a walk-in twin soul. That was the Jesus and Mary Magdalene timeline, and then I undid the Holy Grail, and the resurrection occurred on Christmas Day. Then from there, we went into the Sekhmet and Horus timeline. The masculine pyramids began, and I began clearing that part, and it's all on the Return of Christ playlist. I can't deny it, and it's so amazing, and I'm still like, so anyways, then it was the Sekhmet and Horus timeline. And then in the end of that, the Nile dried out and Horus was also set free. The sun and the moon were fully healed and realigned. The poles were fully shifted and realigned, and also the recalibration of the north, east, south, and the west healed back to the north. Then I processed the Earth's death. Then we went into the Adam and Eve timeline. Then I had to process that part. My DM and I aligned on the final alignment at our soul level. So 1, 2, and this was the third. And then the wrath path, the division occurred. I birthed the new earth, and all light will be called home. So it is what you would call biblical. So it was Jesus and Mary Magdalene first, then Sekhmet and Horus, and then Adam and Eve. And we are now in the Adam and Eve timeline and the Sekhmet portal, the portal of wrath and fury and fire. But it depends on which side of the portal you're on. So it's because like they don't want to give up their power back to gods, to the gods, to the return of the gods, because we have reestablished all of that. I have already returned all layers of all of that, united with my DM on all 3 layers, and I left no stone unturned that needed the shadow released from the earth. Now it's up to you to establish the new earth blueprint through your choices and healing alignment. Do you choose judgment or do you choose openness, heart path, soul growth? Because the thing is I didn't know what I was doing. I just followed the nudges without knowing. And it didn't matter what presented. It didn't matter what I lost because I wouldn't align with it. It was only love. Love was what I chose the whole way. Do you? And then in the end, it all was seen because I healed through it. So you don't see until you heal it. Ego says, see it first. You'll be left behind. Because the portals won't wait for you. They're already moving. We have to move with them. Look at the Schumann resonance. All the lights came through. So are you aligning with the receptivity of that, the alignment of that, and releasing all that's not? Are you making the choices in love or wrath path? The matrix choice or that of freedom, sovereignty, new earth, and love? Those choices are yours and they are part of your karmic blueprint. So where the most difficult choices are is your karmic patterning. So much love, my friends. That is where we're at on the ascension. Till next time.